Hey, what's going on, man? Welcome to the Sammy Rigaud podcast. My name is Sammy Rigaud. Thank you for tuning in. This episode is brought to you by the Georgia Educators for Equity and Justice. They're an organization out of Atlanta focused on empowering and giving support to Black educators. Please check out their information in this description. Today, I need you to do me a favor. We're really close to our subscriber goals for the month. I need you to subscribe, like, and turn your notification bells on, because when you do that, it pushes us through the algorithm and other people get to see the cool work we're doing here. Thank you. Let's get into it. I have two things I want to talk about today, and I want to really take a focus at the church in 2025. I think there's a lot of things going on, and if you're somebody that is on my channel for the parent news, the teacher news, or the sports world, this will be my little break for you. But there's a lot of you guys who are just seeing this for the first time, or you saw some clip, and now you're on the channel. Welcome. I'm a Christian. I'm a believer, and what happens in the church affects me a lot, and what happens in the church intrigues me a lot. So there's two things I want to talk about. The first thing is a problem that we see. I think we need to be very careful with the amount of cameras that we put in church. I think we need to be very careful with sharing what goes down in our church online. I think we need to be very careful with posting clip culture, taking a clip and expressing it and showing it to everybody. And I think churches need to be more responsible with what they post, how they live stream, all of that. And I say that because in this year alone, we've seen some crazy things happen. I think we saw the Marvin Sapp incident where Marvin Sapp is doing a fundraiser, he's doing an offering, and the whole joke, lock the doors, lock the doors, lock the doors. And you know, that went crazy to the point he said he was getting death threats, right? We also saw the thing. First of all, I don't think that's so foreign. Like, I've been going to church for a long time. You know, offering time gets funny, right? Because we're trying to raise money, right? So, you know, I worked at a church where they used to send me out there, and I'd do jokes, and I'd have to figure out a way to motivate the people how to get this offering, right? I've seen a lot worse than what Marvin Sapp was doing. A lot worse. A lot worse. So I don't think it was bad, but I think them people seeing that clip, it gave them the opportunity to say, oh yeah, like, let me get the opportunity to express all the church hurt I've had or all my problems or grievances with the church. Now I can say, oh yeah, my grandma, she gave all her tithe money to the church and she passed and they didn't care. Or this pastor, he molested this person. Or this person at this church, you know, they judged me when I was a teen pregnancy. And they find all these ways to use their hate for the church. Any clip culture, any clip that comes out that's negative, they're going to take advantage of that, because that's what they want to do, is hurt culture. Hurt people want to be able to talk about their hurt. The other big video that had went out was, you know, Phillip Mitchell, 2819 church in Atlanta. He talks about, in a sermon, he's talking about how Black people need to submit more to authority. And they'll be better to us if we submit to the authority. And he gave his example of how he was young and the police stopped him and they held the gun to his head and he had a chance to rebel and he didn't. That's why he's alive. And if we did that, you know, and he talked about it, and that was problematic to a lot of people. I too saw the clip. I talked about it with my friends. I didn't think it was that bad. As someone who has resisting arrest charge and someone who, has a past and from the inner city, I looked at that and I said, there's some truth to what he's saying. And when that clip goes out, people who don't like the church, they're going to take that and they're going to use it. and it can do more harm than good. I think uh, Phillip Mitchell's a dope church. Like he's a dope church, dope word, dope delivery. The aesthetic looks cool. I watch as many sermons as I can get to. I think he's doing dope work. That being said, I think there has to be something to say about putting clips online, putting videos online, putting your live stream available to the world because you're going to reach the masses. You're going to do all this. I think it needs to be done with a little bit more taste. What do I mean by that? I was talking to my friend and I said, there might be a point, and we might have already reached this point, where we got to have specific people on social media ministry. Now, if you're a small church and you've got a few members and you live stream on Facebook, this might not be for you. You might not be able to afford or put somebody in position for that. But I do think there's you large churches, you 1,000 members churches, thousands, multi-services, multi-locations, y'all might need to invest in a social media minister, social media elder. You could do the word however you want, but you got to be able to put people in place, overseers that comb through what you're putting out. If you want to put all your content out, you want to put it to the world, you want to reach the masses, you want people to see it, you want somebody to watch it in another country and feel the spirit and get all connected to what you're doing and experience God, dope. I think there's a responsibility because once you open those doors and you say, here's what we're doing, you might need to put somebody in place to comb through that. What do I mean? What does that look like? You might need tape delay, right? You might need your live stream might not go immediately out, right? There might be 2-3 people watching it back or who were in the service that go, when pastor said that little thing about homosexuality, we might need to take that out because the way it's said, it might get taken out of context, and then boom. That other part where in the sermon where, the pastor's talking to just what this church is dealing with, just what these folks are dealing with, right? These folks right here, you know what I mean? Just enough, these folks. He might be saying something to that. We don't need the whole world to see that, right? He might be disciplining somebody. Hey, guys, like, you know what I mean? This is what's going on in our church. This is a problem. We need to stop doing that. We don't need to put that out. Hey, the parking situation, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, well, we don't need to the whole world doesn't need to see that. Someone should be in a room paying attention to the stream and going, hey, timestamp that. We'll cut that out. And then before the next service, boom, you put it out, right? You might want elders, right? You might want people who are more wise in the word because I'm not going to lie, man. I see some of these folk preaching and, it's like, ooh, that's not really that accurate, but it stirred up the crowd in that moment. You know what I mean? And, next week he'll apologize or building, I don't know, some stuff out of context. Shoot, you might want to be like, hey, man, that part wasn't accurate. We want to take that. We're flawed. We're humans. We make mistakes. Jesus was the only one that didn't make mistakes. So his word can go everywhere. And our stuff is mistake ridden at times. And if anybody wants to debate that, go ahead. But we make mistakes. We have flaws. So when we post our things, we need to have people coming through it. I don't know. That part was wrong. That part was right. Okay, cool. Let's put that out. All right, it's good to go. Goes through everything. Everything has to be checked, right? Because when you're putting it out there to the masses, it matters. So get the people, man. I talked earlier about how quality of the actual content, like the video, the sound, we needed to upgrade that. Well, let's now get to upgrading, having a quality control on what goes out and how we say it, right? I think that's important because that Marvin Sapp conversation that I don't even think was that bad, that offering, it wasn't that bad. But when you just look at that clip and it goes out, whoosh, it looks bad. Somebody should have watched that. Said, okay, hey, let's turn the mics off or cameras off for the offering. Boom. That don't need to go out. Oh, Phillip Mitchell talks. There should be like an advisory, like a little. Hey, we talked about this. This happened in our neighborhood. This happened with one of the people's parents, kids at the church. So that's why we're talking about the submission thing. This isn't for everybody. This is just for that. And that's actually biblical because Paul spoke to specific churches at a time. I think we could be a lot better at that. And on the flip side of that, us Christians got to be better at more understanding and less critical. We got to be less critical than others. Sometimes in church, when the church makes a mistake, the first people with the pom-pom talking about, yeah, look at that church, look at that pastor, that's a mistake, be the Christians. And what makes that worse is the fact that, like, dog, you're one of us. When sororities and fraternities have their issues and they do things like they stand together. You know what I mean? You won't see one talking bad about another. You know what I mean? Police, they stand behind their wall. They're not gonna talk about that. You know what I mean? You look at politics. Some people, they stand behind their thing and they go. You know what I mean? But Christians, we bash. We bash each other so much. That's what we get, unfortunately. So I think that's some ways we can get better. Number one, let's do quality control for that. Let's get everybody, everything has to be combed through before it puts out. I work at a really, really cool private school right now. I work at a private school. And no communication goes out until so many eyes are on it. So many people have to see it. I think the church could be better at that because if we start saying, you know what, this is just for the church, this isn't for the internet. This is just for the church, this isn't for the masses. A lot of the issues we're having right now would go away. A lot of them would go away. We have to be able to have somebody in place or people in place to come through our live stream, our services before it goes out. I think we have to. To switch gears. So how are we on time? All right. To switch gears. I saw something this past week that I thought was dope. However you feel about T.D. Jakes and his ministry, piggyback what I just said, I'm not going to talk bad about nobody who's claiming Christ because they're not perfect. That being said, I saw T.D. Jakes in his service on a live stream. I saw T.D. Jakes on a live stream give pass the pastoral position or the preaching position to his daughter and her husband. And T.D. Jakes said something that I thought was dope. T.D. Jakes said a lot of times you spend so much time protecting what you built that you, in fact, ruin it. And there has to be a natural progression to you build it and you pass it. And a lot of churches are stuck right now. You guys are stuck right now. You guys are full of mistakes right now. You guys are stuck in quicksand right now because there's no succession plan for your head senior pastor. You got the pastor doing everything. He's 70, he's 80, he's doing everything. He preaches every Sunday. He drives the bus. He does everything. And then you think that's a sustainable model going forward further in the future. It's not. Sometimes you can stay too long and ruin what you built. A good leader passes his thing, what he's built, to the next person. A good leader passes it to the next person. And I think what we saw T.D. Jakes do was really cool. That was a dope thing to see. Now, do I think it's right giving it to his daughter? I don't know. That's not my call. I think the lesson I take out of that is the fact that he said, you know what? I'm getting old. You know what I mean? It's 52 Sundays. I don't need to preach every service, do meetings, travel. Like that's a lot of work. Being a pastor is a lot of work. And T.D. Jakes just said, hey, I'm not going to sit here and do all of it. I'm going to share the work with people that I trust. And I think if you're a pastor and you're listening to this and you watch that and you're familiar with the story, you need to take heed lest you fall, because at the end of the day, you will burn yourself out. You will tire yourself out. You will work yourself to the ground if you don't have people that you trust that you can pass it to. It makes sense. If you disagree with me, put in the comments. I want to know your thoughts. If you're watching this and you're new, because we haven't been talking about faith a lot. If you're new, go ahead, comment. What do you think about TD Jakes passing it to his daughter and her husband? And then 2, what do you think about let's slow down with some of these cameras and these live streams in our services? What do you think? If you're new here, comment, tell me your thoughts. Everybody comment, tell me your thoughts. This is Sammy Rigaud Podcast. It's been an honor being with you today. May God bless you. Please stay tuned to the next time.